Now he talks about detachments, how and why they should be made. There is an ancient rule of war that cannot be repeated often enough. Hold your forces together, make no detachments, and when you want to fight the enemy, reassemble all your forces and seize every advantage to make sure of your success. This rule is so certain that most of the generals who have neglected it have been punished promptly. So he's saying don't separate your forces. And I've talked about this before because that's what I believed. Are there times where you separate your forces? Yes, there are. You have to be prudent. You have to be smart. And well, here's the dichotomy. He says the same thing. The subject of detachments is extremely delicate. None should be made except for good reasons, right? None should be made except for good reasons. If you're acting offensively in an open enemy country and are only master of some strong point. So, again, this is something I talk about all the time. Once you've got your forces separated on the battlefield, it can get problematic very, very quickly. So keep your forces consolidated as much as you can. How does that translate into the business world? Well, be careful when you start breaking off little chunks of your company to go and explore new territory, because when you break off chunks, you get a little bit weaker. So don't do that. When you do it, I'm not saying don't do it. He's not saying don't do it. When you do it, understand the risks that are being taken. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's good. It is funny, like you kind of, how you said that, where it's like, no, basically the idea that it's like, this is the hard and fast rule, but, kind of thing.
Yeah. That
is a good way to put it, because if you don't say it like that or you don't present it like that, it kind of, in a way, makes you think, well, I can bend that rule then, and it kind of, it's like the people might be too cavalier about the whole thing, about making the exception,
Yeah, you're right.
So
I got a question for you. How does this apply to jiu-jitsu?
Like what, a specific move? Okay, so actually I'll use your example, which has stuck with me from the first time you said it, by the way.
Check.
That don't put your elbow across your midline of your body.
You're gonna nail this. I like where you're going. Like
So,
Charles in the game.
You're like, okay, and actually you gave an example of this, but okay. So you should never put your arm across your chest. You should never do it. Every once in a while, and I will almost say not even every once in a while, I'll just say there is an exception where, and I think you had a situation with Dean where you were like, Dean messed you up, but you thought about it later or something.
No, he told me later. He's like, here you have to do something that I've told you never to do. Here you have to do it. And it's from the mount. It's from you turn so far that there's an escape. When I was going to talk about this, the way this applies to jiu-jitsu, this specifically, you're talking about something else that does apply to jiu-jitsu. This applies to jiu-jitsu. Picture this. You're a one body, right? When you're doing jiu-jitsu, it is highly advantageous to keep your arms and your legs close to your body, especially your arms, right? You don't stick your arm out, right? What happens when you stick your arm out? It's out there by itself and it gets taken over. It's arm locked.
It does get taken over, yeah.
So you don't do that. You keep your arms in close to your body, and that's where you... Fabio Santos, he used to say, make like your arms come out of your belly.
Oh yeah,
like you don't even have shoulders.
Upper
like your elbows just come out of your belly. That's how you should keep your arms. And I've always obeyed that rule. Except there are times when you got to reach out and you got to make another move happen. So as much as you can, you keep your forces consolidated as a body, as a human.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you got to step them out.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, when you put it like that, it's pretty clear that it's like, hey, this isn't like some ambiguous rule. That's the rule. Keep your arms in. That's the rule. And then remember The Golden Child? You ever watched The Golden Child?
I don't know.
Okay, Eddie Murphy. It's called The Golden Child, this old school 80s movie. But he was like, hey, stay on the path. He was like, hey, you got to walk on these like stumps in the dark and get this glass of water, this Buddha thing, I think. And he's like, hey, stay on the path. You got to stay on the path. That's it. That's the rule. It's the only advice I can give you. I think there's something else, but that was it. So he stays on the path, right? And there's this weird rope bridge. And he, right as he gets off the rope bridge, bursts into flames. And he's like, hey, I thought you told me to stay on the path. And he said, yes, but you got to know when to break the rules.
There you go.
That's it, right?
Epic lessons learned from Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, Golden Child. It's true, bro. It's true.
All right. So no problem. We can come at people from different angles. I'm sure there's someone that's listening to the podcast who's like, oh, yes! Now I get it.
It's true.
So whoever you are out there, Echo Charles has got your back.
I got your back.